Hello. Oh, sorry. I forgot who introduced this show.
I just wanted to say hello.
Okay.
It's Ask the Amigos, everybody. I'll finish it off, Bo. To heck with it.
You will finish it off.
This is where myself and John Boat of Carshaw, our man about town, answer your burning questions, Bo. They're burning.
They're burning my britches.
And so right now, we're preparing to answer your burning questions right here on live on the show.
We're gonna start things off with Cameron Armstrong, aka Night Fox. He says,
Night Fox, that's cool.
Boat and Aaron end up swapping day jobs. How long does each person last? How long would you last as a middle school band director, Aaron?
Well, I think I could go, and I'll tell you why. Because it'd be a whole different band. Let's put it that way. Remember how the band directors were in previous eons?
Oh, yeah.
Where they just sat around and watched Poltergeist? That's the kind of band director I'd be. Everybody listen to the kettle drum in the opening to Annie. And then I'd be sitting back and read the paper. The problem is one of those little punks that angered me, and then I'd have a problem. I'm a pretty laid back guy.
Right.
But kids can be cruel, and I get my feelings hurt, so I don't know how long I'd make it.
I don't know how long I'd make it working in the prison system. I get scared easy.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big bruiser like you are. So I'm
not a bruiser. I wouldn't say that. I'm just a dude.
Well, yeah, but people fear you when they see you coming in.
You think they fear me?
Yeah. When
Do
you
I
walk
look
into one of those
fearsome?
prisons, I guarantee you the inmates give you
I
sort
try
of
not
a
to make eye
wide berth.
contact, Bo, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, working with your buddy that's a big Trump guy, I don't know how.
He's a great guy, except for that.
I like not having to interact with adults most of the time.
Well, I mean, listen, there's plenty of people at your school that are probably just like
Oh,
you.
yeah, and I don't interact with him.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
listen,
trapped in a room with him.
Like,
for
I know
hours
people
and
that have
hours.
all sorts of different crazy religions, and
Yeah.
politics, political views, stuff. I'm okay.
That's
Whatever,
why
man.
you're
I'm
perfect
down.
for where you are.
What?
I get irritated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam from Commodore
That's a good question.
Chronicles. Yeah, good question, Cameron. He says, if you could choose one video game fantasy vehicle and wish it into reality, which video game fantasy vehicle would you choose? He would choose Sophia Third from Blaster Master, which I didn't realize had a name.
The first thing that popped into my head, it's not a good choice, by the way, but I love the car from Bump and Jump. That'd be pretty fun. You know, you go jump 3,000 feet in the air.
Right.
If it wasn't, like, I wouldn't want to drive it on those roads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I could just, like, drive that car on, like, regular roads.
It's just like whenever you hit traffic, just woo.
The problem is landing. And the thing is, you'd be smashing people, which would be fun. But, like, you land on, like, a bus or something. You feel
bus
kinda
full of
bad.
nuns. That's no good.
So I'm going to rescind that, and I'm going to go with something much more generic. How about the car from Spy Hunter? That thing's pretty cool. You know, it looks good. It's got guns and oil slicks. It turns into a boat. That'd be kind of cool. So let's go with that.
For me, there's only one answer.
Yeah.
And that is Arc 2.
What is Arc 2?
Bam.
That's a game?
Well, he didn't say game. He just said fantasy vehicle.
Oh, what is that?
That's a rad looking post-apocalyptic van.
It looks like a big track, sort of.
Yeah,
like
it's a big track for people.
Okay. That's not bad.
Yeah, look up Arc 2 if you've never seen it. It was only on for one season. It's great.
You've watched this show?
Yeah.
Maybe? Oh, yeah? What's the scoop on that? They on like a planet?
No, I think it's set in. Actually, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I think it takes place after the world has ended. Sort of like it's a family-friendly Mad Max.
You know, the Russians have this vehicle that sort of looks like that. It's for like the South Pole. Mm-hmm. It's just big, and the people like live in it,
right,
and work in it, and it's got like strategic holes. So like you can kind of set this thing over it, and without freezing, you can work on stuff. That'd be kind of cool.
I was thinking strategic holes like for using the bathroom.
Oh no, they've got all that stuff taken care of. They think this is old school Russia. They say it's kind of utilitarian.
I see. All right, coming up next, we've got Scoob. He says, outside of American food, what is your favorite cuisine?
I would say probably Italian food. I like pasta, pizza, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Pizza's debatable, I'll grant you. Although, here's what I'm gonna give you a kudo. My limited exposure to the Thai food, I've liked everything I've ever eaten.
Oh,
which
good.
is granted almost always the same meal, but it's one great meal. I love that meal.
Well, mine is Korean. I love Korean food. Ever since I was over there, I love it. And part of the love is the fact that you can't get it easily. Like the closest Korean place around here is Lexington. So maybe if I was around and I ate it all the time, I would get tired of it.
I went to like Korean barbecue in Lexington.
Yeah.
And Man, that's a good eat.
It's awesome. It's great.
It's super expensive.
Yep.
And it can't be healthy to eat that much.
No, no.
And the thing is, they never stop coming.
Yeah.
Like they're like you can.
They bring it out till you explode.
You know, and I can't eat that much. I'm the worst fat guy ever because I can't eat all that much at once. I'm more of a long term, like the long distance runner. I'm the long distance eater.
You're in it for the long haul.
That's right.
Scoob asks, could you realistically see yourself retiring to another country?
My problem is I don't know enough about other countries. You've been everywhere. It's easy for you to answer that. For me, it would be tougher. Like, I could absolutely retire to Mexico if it wasn't jacked up. Because I like the people. I like the food. I like the area. When I was down there, I really enjoyed my time there.
It's not cold.
The problem is, like, Mexico's really in rough shape right now. They've got all kinds of problems. I wouldn't move anywhere where it gets cold. So that's Canada out. Mm-hmm. And then I've never been to Europe. So I don't know if there are places there I would like or not. I maybe would. I mean, I know I like a lot of stuff in the UK, so maybe there's somewhere over there I would like. But I'd have to have some friends and stuff to like hang out with and stuff. But yeah, I could see it. I mean, you never know. Listen, it's becoming more of an idea every day as I live here in the States. The thought of that's not the worst idea.
Well, I mean, realistically. Sure. I mean, could I do it? Yes.
You were going to move to Thailand, right? Remember a while back? Yeah.
But as we get older and we become more comfortable, we become more homebody-ish. And right now we got a pretty good thing going on, especially with the restaurant going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, if I moved anywhere, I'd have to give up my social circle. You know, all the folks that I hang out with. B, I'd have to give up living in a really good size house on a really good plot of land. And C, I'd have to come to terms with a lot of things that are just foreign to me, literally and figuratively. And as I get older and older, I find myself not wanting to put up with that sort of nonsense.
It's funny. I never thought I'd say this. I never really thought it would occur to me. But of the two of us, I think I'd be far more likely to go to another country. And the reason is, like, I've been on a certain path for a long time, and I'm ready to move to a different path. Mm-hmm. And when the time comes, like, and you know me, like, I've had nothing, I've got something. I don't have to have it all. You know, I like what I've got now, but I mean, I can make stuff work. And if I thought another country would be the way I'd want to go, I'd absolutely think about
it. I've sort of sowed my wild oats. I've lived that life. Yeah. I know what it's like, and so, but. Never say never, man.
I snorted my wild oats, ironically.
You did?
Yeah. I don't recommend it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You know, I knew a guy that used to snort Kool-Aid. He said it got him high.
Really?
Yeah. I think he was an idiot.
I knew a guy that ate Jell-O through his nose.
See, that's not so bad.
It's not a good idea, though.
Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And finally, we limit our questions for each Discord member to 3 a month. Otherwise, it would get out of hand. So Scoob's final question is, have you ever rooted for the obvious bad guy? If so, when?
All the time. I'm a wrestling fan, so yes, all the time. I root for the bad guy. It's funny, I remember one time distinctly, me and Hose were in the Civic Center loudly cheering for the Russians to beat the Rock and Roll Express. We were not popular amongst those people.
I thought you loved the Rock and Roll Express.
No, I mean, I respect them, but at the time...
Oh, yeah, it's the Midnight Express, that's right.
But, like, I've also rooted for tons of, like... Part of me likes, like, you ever watch there's cop chases? You know, where the cops are chasing the bad guys?
Yeah.
You know, normally they're chasing these guys for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. But if someone shows particular valor or skill, and you sort of want to see
like the guy on the motorcycle that's dodging the thing.
I saw a guy who's right near the border, and like the cop, he tried to get in the country illegally or whatever, but he made it. It's one of the few guys I ever saw make it. Mm-hmm. And I remember it to this day. So yeah, sometimes I root for the bad guy.
Well, and I think bad guy, he puts bad guy in quotes. I mean, you're always going to root for somebody like Robin Hood, right? Technically breaking the law.
Well, yeah.
But doing it for the right reasons.
But I consider myself that kind of bad guy.
Yeah. But I'm with you. Like we were talking on the phone earlier this week. I said, if I like a good scheme. I like a good scam.
Yeah.
I admire the ingenuity of the people that pull these things off, even if I disagree with their morality.
Plus, sometimes you have to work an angle.
Right.
Even if it's not necessarily good. Mm-hmm. But sometimes to get to where you need to be, you got to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Every great fortune's built on a crime.
I think we both bend the rules a little bit sometimes.
Little bit. Ravi asks, if you could be teleported to any place in the universe, where would you go?
That Pleasure Dome sounded pretty good.
The stately Pleasure Dome of Kublai Khan.
Well, no, the one in that game, the ladies of the Pleasure Dome that dude
I
wrote.
have no idea what you're talking about.
Remember in Amigos earlier, that guy, one of the games that company did was about the...
Oh, yeah, romantic encounters in the Pleasure Dome.
in the Pleasure Dome. That sounds okay. I could do a little time in Pleasure Dome.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. Once you leave the Earth, things get a little hairy.
Yeah.
So I'd probably, if I could teleport anywhere here, I'd love to be able to teleport just to like a beautiful sort of isolated cabin somewhere. Like whenever you flee hurricane and go to the camp, I'd love to be able to do that, but have the most awesome camp you can imagine.
I thought you might say like one of those bathhouses you went on about. You ever talked about the bathhouses for a while, but you love those things.
Well, yeah, I do love the bathhouse. I mean, who doesn't love public nudity?
Well, me.
Really?
Remember that whole story? We had a whole shtick about that.
I don't remember.
We talked about that, about you being naked with those Japanese guys. I was like, what are you talking about?
Well, you just look at each other.
Yeah, I know. That's what you said then. It was creepy then. It's creepy now. Move on.
David Cavalieri asks, waffles or pancakes? I'll go first. Waffles 100% of the time.
I was both. Waffles. Waffles hold the syrup.
Yep, and they're crispy. Yep.
You know what's good eating? You ever go to one of these cheap hotels?
Oh, make the waffle.
You get the waffle maker. They get the crud pre-done. You just dump it in there. And then the waffles are like big as your plate.
Yeah.
Then you go over and get some syrup, and you get some butter,
and you tear into it.
And what you do is you go over to the buffet, and you get a big wad of bacon sausage, like as much as you can.
I'm going to do you one better, and I bet you've never done this before.
All right.
What you do is you go to the waffle maker, right?
Yeah.
You make your waffle. Then immediately you make another waffle.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Then you get the sausage, and you get the syrup and the butter, and you cover one of the waffles.
Yeah.
Then you put the other waffle on top.
You make like a giant
waffle sandwich.
Oh, I see.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good angle.
Yeah.
When me and Luke went up to the river down there in Corbin, they've got that, we're at that state camp or whatever resort, and they had one of the waffle makers, and they had the breakfast bar. And what's great is I've got the big waffle, I got all the junk.
Yep.
And we're on this at this table with this beautiful view, like from the top of the canyon down to the river.
It doesn't get any better.
It don't get any. And the thing is, I remember eating. It's like, okay, since I ate this, then it's time to go to the pinball museum. I'm like, bam! I told kids, like, we got it good.
We've got to make a weekend trip or something to do.
I'm working on something. Yeah.
Pajako says Pajako 6502.
He says his number.
He says the 1990s was the time for clacks. What is the 2020s time for?
The clap. It's close to clacks. That's right. That's more like the 1980s, I guess. It'd be.
I don't know. When was the peak of venereal disease?
I'd say 70s and 80s. I'd say late 70s, early 80s. The 2020s is the time. Well, I mean, if we're gonna use a video game to describe the era. Oh man, my first thing I thought it was Grand Theft Auto.
You're not wrong.
That's not nearly depressing and disturbing enough. I have to think of something. What do you got?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm trepidatious about our current situation.
Listen, I've had some crappy stuff happen to me this past month, and so I'm sort of like trying to take a more optimistic view of things, because otherwise I'm going to fall into a depression I'm not going to come out of.
Positivity boat.
That's right. So I'm going to say that the 1990 or the 2020s is the time for one of those Jeff Minter games with the llamas dancing around and stuff.
So just any vague Jeff Minter game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Here's my thing. I remain quietly optimistic, despite the fact that things look bleak. Right, the world scene, the national scene is not appealing to me. So I'm going to go into maybe this is the year for a Sim City or something, where you make your own.
There you go.
You make your own little town and just do the best you can.
I love it.
That's what Hurricane is.
I'm changing my answer. Drone Doctor asks, what's the dirtiest, low-down, rotten, dirt worst thing a DM has ever done to one of your D&D characters? You've got to have an answer for this one.
The thing is, I've usually been the guy doing it. And so, because I've done one of my all-time favorite bits. There's just one of my favorite modules, is a module where you go. It's White Plume Mountain. Right? It's a great famous Gary Gygax like it made it. But there's a bit in it where there's this running river, and I had a guy jump in and he was drowning, and so I had another guy. I said, I'll jump in and save him, and he jumped in, but he forgot he was wearing like full like plate, so he sank like a stone and just laid on the bottom of the river. And the other guy got loose and made it to the surface, and so his buddies laid there dying. So he just waited until he died and then went down and took all of his stuff. And so I didn't have to do much, but I was highly amused by that. But I've had people that reincarnated or like had their polymorphed into like worms and ants and stuff, and that's the way they had to spend their life. Mm-hmm. Really, what's been done to me was the worst. That thing, Brent screwed us. He screwed us a couple times now. Like, Brent's a killer GM. There's no one denying that. Our Cthulhu game, he screwed us. And then that last game he ran, he screwed us then, too. Mm-hmm. So I'd say Brent is the ultimate screw. Why are we surprised? His D&D play is much like in real life. He just lives to hose me, and by default, whoever's near me.
What did you say the name of that module was?
White Plume Mountain.
Have you ever heard Sourwood Mountain?
No.
You know that old saw? If you're going to Sourwood Mountain, better not get stabbed in the face.
Well, no. Is that a real lyric?
I made that up.
Oh.
But I mean, the Sourwood Mountain, that part, I can't remember what the last part is, but I always put in that part about getting stabbed in the face.
What's your most heinous act from getting done in D&D?
I don't, because really the only time I've ever played is with you guys. So Brent.
Okay,
yeah.
there's your answer. Anything that Brent was involved in. And the thing is, Brent's ran some real good stuff over the years, and I've had a lot of fun in, but man, when he wants you dead, you're done. He has no pity. He has no remorse. Just like real life.
David Hearn Ryder asks, who is Phyllis, and why does she have all the quilts?
Phyllis Diller is the most famous Phyllis I know. If you remember her, one of the pioneering ladies of comedy
I believe that she was in the live-action rendition of Alice in Wonderland from the 70s.
Probably. She's been in tons of stuff, including Tales of the Dark Side. So when I think of Phyllis, I think of two people, her and then that chick from The Office that was named Phyllis. Mm-hmm. The people he's referring to they have a quilt store down there beside what is now that grab all you want from Amazon place.
Right, where the Dad
Have you been there yet?
Is it good?
We got to go, don't we?
Yeah.
I haven't been yet. I haven't been. But yeah, so Phyllis she's been there forever. Who's buying these quilts?
Well, I'll tell you.
Hundreds of dollars.
My mom's a big quilter, and she spends most of her waking hours at that shop.
Really?
And so
it's getting like parts and crap?
So, well, what it is, it's a social experience. You know, it's sort of like a game store for old ladies.
Do they quilt in the store?
They quilt in the store.
How does she get paid for that?
Well, I think that people buy all their. It's just like a game store. People buy their supplies from her.
Yeah, but don't lots of people come to game stores and just talk and not buy anything and make you want to kill them?
Well, I think that's the difference between gamers and old ladies.
Yeah. Also, old people have money.
Yeah.
These are geeks that don't have no money.
Right.
I've been that geek. Mm-hmm. But anytime, it's funny because this quilting question plays directly to the D&D question. Okay, so like here, Phyllis's quilting place has been there forever. Mm-hmm. Old people come in here and quilt.
Right.
They hang out. It's a social place, mm-hmm. right? I used to go to the Rusty Scabbard back in Lexington. It'd been there forever. It's mm-hmm. probably still there. And there was always a miserable-looking old guy behind the counter and one or two dorks that were telling him old D&D stories nonstop for hours. And they won't leave. And he wants anything he can do is to get them out of there, not spending any money.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what do we learn here?
Don't open the game store.
Quilt store been here forever. Role-playing stores come and go like drop a hat. That's probably why, because you just can't take it anymore.
You know, it's funny. I'm going to digress here because you know that I read and listen to, for the amount of live role-playing that I've done with a group of people, I have so much more knowledge about all these other things that are related.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I was listening to a podcast about is the economics of role-playing games are really poor. Like, you should not make a role-playing game if you're going to make money, because you essentially buy the book and then you don't have to buy anything else ever again. I mean, you can buy modules, but you don't have to buy modules.
Right.
So it's a horrible idea.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. If you get a game where the source can get you a lot of, and I go back to like Vampire. You release Vampire, it's popular. Mm-hmm. That's a tough game to roll up your own stuff. So they release all these clan books and all this accoutrement. Plus, they went into the live action elements and they released Werewolf and Ghost. All sorts of stuff. They had a nice little franchise going there. If you can get people on board like that, you're in. But if you get people in that are just going to roll, like D&D, you can just roll your own most of the time and get away with it. I love running modules. 'Cause I've got it. I don't have enough creative juice to really make something good.
Sure.
Unless it's like Champions. But yeah, you're right. You can absolutely put out the source book. Then you have to revise the source book and put out new source books. And eventually you kill your own game because people hate what you've done, or don't upgrade, so there you go.
David Hearn's second question is, can you name a time when you were supposed to do something for someone else, but got distracted by a game instead?
You mean this day or this week? I mean, yeah. I'll give you a perfect example. Every night, my kid is 14 years old, okay? I don't care. Every night I tuck that kid into bed, give him a smooch. You know me.
Yeah.
You've seen me do it. Last night I was sitting around playing Fairy Tale Adventure, and I was like, I know there's a pause. I didn't have the keyboard commands open because I was 3 hours in, and I was not somewhere I could stop. And so Luke's like, I'm ready. I was like, hold on. And I'm hitting, trying to find the sub menu to get to the pause. Of course, it's just like the space bar, I think is what it is. But that's the perfect example of something. But I mean, yeah, everyone's been down that road. I like EverQuest. I missed all. Me and a lot of people would just call in from work. Wouldn't even go in. It's like, let's go play this today. I mean, I'm sure you've done that somewhere in the past.
Well, whenever I sit down and play a video game, it's like, it's really hard for me to enjoy it these days because I always start thinking about, well, what's the thing I need to be doing instead of doing this?
That's one of the things about cutting down on the amount of shows we do. I always, especially since I was producing at the end there, I was producing them all.
Right.
Like, even now I feel like a lazy bum because I'm not every night. I got into a thing where every night, I did this every night, because you did it for a while. It's all consuming. And then whenever you're not getting ready for the production of the game, you should be playing the game. You should be looking up research on the game.
Right.
Now that we've got a much more comfortable schedule, it's helped immensely. And I think it's helped our looks at the game because we can quietly and calmly sit down. And when shooting day comes, not to get too inside baseball, but like, we don't have to do anything. We come in here and sit on our couch. Like we did that. We came in here calmly for a half hour and chatted. There was no pressure. It all worked.
Right.
That's so nice because for years stuff didn't work.
Yeah.
Also, the misters helped.
Yep.
Because the game always works. We don't have to struggle, try to figure out what's going on. Now, me and Britt do sometimes, but me and you, it always works perfectly.
Yeah.
We don't have any trouble.
That's right.
So, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was tons of times my mom wanted me to vacuum the floor or something, and I would be like, all right, I'll be right there. And then like 6 hours later, I'm still playing Final Fantasy. So, all right, David Hearn's final question is, you have a whole day to sink into an Amiga game for fun.
Okay.
He says, which one do you choose, but your Addams Family and Lionheart discs are unplayable due to the lamer Exterminator virus?
Okay. You want you to tackle that one first?
Yeah. So what I would do is I would look at it's sort of the Fairy Tale Adventure like game. If I can spend a whole day guilt-free just sitting and playing an Amiga game, I would look at what's the highest rated D&D like gold box game, or what's the highest rated Ultimate game on the Amiga.
Yeah.
I would pull out the books, because in this fantasy world I would have the books, I'd set them up around me, and I'd really get stuck in, and I'd spend all day doing it.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm gonna be cheap here, and because it's on my mind. But if I had a whole day, all right, I would load up Fairy Tale Adventure, and the first thing I would do is figure out how the saves work and make sure everything's up and running. Then I would get that hint book. I had a hint sheet without a book. I'd get the hint book. I'd lay it out. I saw maps for this game. Like, there's the overall map, but there's maps of, like, individual areas, like the Black Forests and stuff. I would get those maps. I'd have it all printed out, ready to go. And I would just nose around, because that's the kind of game, because most games you're not going to, me and you both like the twitchier games. Most games you're not going to sit around all day. You're going to, because, when we do stream stuff, we bebop around like maniacs. So you're going to want something like a gold box.
Right.
Another one I would think about doing would be the Dungeon Masters, another one. But I think the one thing about Fairy Tale Adventure has an interface I'm more comfortable with, as goofy as it is. Another one's Eye of the Beholder. I might try that one. One of those three. But I'd want all the maps and stuff out around me so I could have all the authentic stuff around so I could see what's going on. That's what would be nice.
Right. All right, we move on to Andy Craig. He says, do you think there is something that could be done to bring back the popularity of arcades? Maybe have something you can't easily experience on a home system. Well, I would say that there is something that has been done to bring back the popularity of arcades, and that is booze.
Yes, I agree.
The barcade is like even in Huntington, Death Hole, the barcade there is doing pretty well.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
They have a good angle there.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree. Now, I don't think there's anything. I was watching a guy open up a 1/4 scale arcade machine from that Knuckleheads or Numbskull. Knuckleheads is better. And it was Space Invaders 2. Oh. And they've got the side art and everything looks great. And they've even got the gimmick with the mirror and the back glass.
I do like, if I was going to go down that route, I like the Numbskull games better than the other guys because they're bigger.
Right. But the thing is, they're $300.
Yeah, they're expensive.
So I absolutely could get a Space Invaders cheaper than that, a real one.
Right.
So I don't think you're going to do much at the arcade that's going to get people to come out. Okay, I think that's a problem. So I think what you said's the first thing, but along those lines, arcade, and by the way, pinballs came roaring back, and it's funny. It's a reversal of the. I was watching Flack's video where he went to the Cactus Flack's Cactus Jack's down in Oklahoma, and they've removed a bunch of the video games for more pinball. People are getting into pinball. So if something comes back into vogue or catches fire, that could work. Something else I thought about is maybe, you've got all these competitive video games. If you could get a real popular competitive video game that people could sit around and watch like they do when the people play Street Fighter and stuff, that may be like a league.
Yeah. What I'm thinking of is if you know how they have that giant Space Invaders, right? The one that Chud played?
Yeah.
If you could harness that sort of a huge screen with a huge chunky controller and make it a competitive experience, something like that.
I mean, they've got pinball leagues all over the place, but they're mostly just pinball dorks, like myself and you. But I mean, if you could, that might be something. But I mean, the problem with arcade games and now especially, and pinball machines especially, they're expensive. You're going to be hard pressed to get your money back on them. Plus, you have to pay for the upkeep, which is expensive.
Right.
Plus, you may buy a real expensive pinball machine, set it out there, people don't like it, and so then you're boned.
Yeah.
These are 10 to 15 grand.
It's insane.
It's
insane what they are.
When the quarter-sized arcade machine's $300, go buy some new ones. See what those are going to run you.
Right.
Or tip your toe into the pool of the old stuff and see what that's going to cost you. It's expensive. If they started making new arcade machines at a reasonable cost, and they had really good games, I just don't know what game you're going to release in the arcade when you know clearly that if you release it on the phone, you're going to make 1,000,000 times more money. Well,
I'll tell you, the game you're going to release in the arcade is the Redemption game. Right. That's the
but, and nobody wants. None of our crew wants that. No. So maybe the brand, he loves that crap.
Pajako asks, sometimes I see a film or game came out in a specific year and I realize just how long ago it really was. Which film or game shocks you when you realize how old it is?
You have a thought on that?
Yeah. When my sort of golden era of gaming was the early 90s, or early to mid 90s. Yeah. And whenever we start running up to 30 years from that era, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, for me, I think I remember when my buddy got a PlayStation, okay? This was a Quantum Leap, okay?
Yeah.
He had a projector TV. We hooked it up, played Wipeout on it, played Battle Royale Toshinden on it, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this existed. And here it is. And when they started supporting that in the Mister, because I mean the PlayStation was hard to emulate for a while, but now it's like a joke. Everything worked, And so I'm always about, man, I cannot believe that a system like that, because now they've obviously moved well past it. But that's the one that always gets me. Because I just think it just didn't feel like it was that long ago where I was at my buddy's house firing up this PlayStation for the very first time. Now you look, it's like, man, you're talking, like you said, 25 plus years or whatever since this thing came out. It's just like, I can't believe it.
The Japanese PlayStation came out 30, I think it was 30 years ago next year. Yeah.
That's, oh man. So that one gets me the PlayStation. Because in my mind, that's the cutoff. That was the cutoff for a long time where retro ended.
Right.
Because it was disc-based. And also, it was just a bigger deal.
Yeah.
The 3D was,
yeah.
awesome.
But that's really when gaming became mainstream in a way that it hadn't before, too.
Yeah.
Pixels of Dawn says, if you could pick your walkout music, what would it be?
Man, I've thought about this a bunch of times. The theme from Cowboy Bebop is always one that I want to go with. I love the chase from the Midnight Express film, which was the old Midnight Express theme song. I love that song an awful lot. What do you guys think it pops in your head?
Yeah, The Ocean by Led Zeppelin. Yeah. I love that. That's a great walkout too.
Yeah, a lot of wrestlers have picked great ones. Brody used to come out to Immigrant Song. It was,
oh yeah, all the Zeppelin songs are great. Yeah,
to come out to. So it had to be something with a lot of. But my thing is I like something with like a horn section. That's why I like seat belts.
Oh yeah.
That I like the stuff they did on Cowboy Bebop and that song. I think if you time it right, because it starts off loud,
right,
and then it gets closed down, and the guy's like 3, 2, 1. And that's when you come out.
That's right.
And then it ramps up, and you get the edited version where they cut out the jazz middle part. And it's all horn. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's great.
Also, I love that show.
Buck Owen says, do you have sacred harp singings in your area? Do you know what that is?
It's someone playing the harp?
No. Okay, so I learned about this from Paul Harrington, oddly enough.
Okay.
Paul Harrington with his Norwegian wife, or girlfriend, I'm not sure. She is big into this stuff, and this is stuff that happens in Appalachia. This is like a very particular sort of church music where there's no accompaniment and there's no harmony. It's just people sing the melody and they sing it real, real loud. And they get together and they sing these like old church songs.
Where's the
these
harp
old hymns. I don't know why they call it sacred harp. I think it's because the original like tune book was called the Sacred Harp, but there's no accompaniment.
So it's chorus music without any...
It's chorus without any harmony. It's everybody singing the melody.
I don't think I'd like that.
Yeah,
I think that sounds like every night we play Rock Band.
Yeah, it's
none of us can harmonize.
You should look it up because it's unique. It's definitely something unique to like the Appalachian area.
And probably just didn't know they had a name.
Yeah, sacred harp singing. So yeah, I've never been to one of those before. I would like to go just for the experience, but I've never been.
I would not like to go.
Pajako 6502.
Do they sing? Wait a minute. Do they sing church music?
So, like, you've heard like let's just say it's like
are they gonna sing Immigrant Song, for example?
They're gonna sing like, and it's like really like hymns from the 1800s.
So they're hymns.
Yeah, they're hymns. It's all church music.
I'll pass on that.
Pajako 6502 asks, okay, they've finally done it. Replicators from Star Trek are real now, and you can make anything you want from thin air in a bucket of chemicals. What are you creating first?
Fudgy.
What's fudgy?
The little brownie fudge thing.
Like a fudge round?
I've told you about it. From Mr. Donut, the half brownie, half fudge.
Have you talked about
these things hundreds of times. Yes.
I don't remember fudge. I remember Mississippi Mud.
No, it's just fudgies. They don't make them anywhere.
Oh, okay.
I want a Mr. Donut circa 1978. I want a fudgy. I'll also accept one of their lady fingers, which is also great. You can't get no more, like a proper one.
Now that you're talking about donuts and crap, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I would just probably make donuts all the time.
If you'd gotten to go to, I pity you. I really do. I feel bad for people younger than me. I mean, they're going to live longer maybe, but you missed out. Because I'm telling you, you know this, and you're a restaurateur. And so it's your obligation to not fall prey to this. Everything is on a slope. And it used to be a gentle slope, but it's like Moon Patrol. Like the slope's getting deeper, and I'm waiting for the boulders to start rolling down because everything, the food's gone downhill, brother. And all the food that when I was a kid was still good. Like, it was made with, like, real ingredients. People cared. Their jobs are on the line. So when you went to, like, the donut store, they didn't just slop out some crap and then set it out there for 2 or 3 days. They made it fresh. It was good eating. It was ready to go. It was ready to rock and roll. And it was the best. Like, you go get donuts now, They may taste okay. It may taste even pretty good, but it's not the same. Not the same. And it's not nostalgia and all that crap. That's a fact. They don't make them as good. You know I'm right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Is2 Scooby asks, what's the most scared you've ever been as a passenger in a car?
I may have told the story. You want me to go first? Or you want to go first? We used to go to Rocky Horror in Charleston, right? Me, Beasley. And a couple times, there was this hot blonde in negligee that would drive us up there, okay? Hey, sounds good. I don't know her name. I don't know if I ever knew her name. We'd sit in the back seat of her car, and she had this car that was like a 70s car.
Wait a minute, you were sitting in the back seat of a car with a hot blonde.
No, she was driving.
Oh, she was driving.
I was
you
alone.
Were in the back seat.
Beasley's in the front seat with her.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't worry.
Is this the girl that tried to escape from the window and you had to push her butt back in?
No, whole different chick. And what scared me is her car had no speedometer, and also nothing on the dash worked at all, nothing. So she didn't try to guess; she just floored it. And so we would go as fast as you could conceivably go down the interstate at night, and it was the scariest thing. And keep in mind that I rode. Jerry also was a horrible driver. My buddy Mark. He's such a bad driver. He physically hit my apartment building with his car.
Wow.
He shook the whole building. He hit it so hard. So I've known some bad drivers, but she was the worst and scariest that I've ever been in a car with. But it was part of being a teenager.
Right.
You're on your way to Rocky Horror. You got to get scared to death on the way there.
There's a road that I'm sure you've heard of. I think it's Coal Mountain Road. It's the road that goes from Scott Depot over the mountain.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. I've been there many times.
So my buddy TJ, he had this Geo Metro. Okay.
Yeah.
The doors were bungeed together to keep them closed.
Yeah.
And he used to tear over that thing.
Yeah.
And that was frightening at nighttime.
It's funny when I'm guessing you were a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
I saw
High
a
school.
picture of you today as a teenager, and
I look
laughed.
awesome.
You looked totally like a different guy.
Well,
but that was your crew.
Yeah.
And when you're with your crew, and one of these guys have a car, inevitably, it's almost always a garbage car.
Right.
I drove with people that had garbage cars all the time. And I mean, including cars that had holes in the floorboards and bungees or didn't have any shocks or had tires that were like 2 donuts. It's amazing anyone survived.
Yeah, it really is. Unfortunately, TJ was actually killed in a car accident.
Oh, jeez, Bo. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Good Lord.
Yeah, when he was our senior year of high school.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So that was, wow, that makes your thing even scarier.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
All right, guys. On that
Bo.
cheerful note.
Yeah, is that the last play? That's all we got?
That's all we got.
Oh, God.
We will see you guys next week as always, or next month as always. If you have a question and you are a supporter of any of the shows, Amigos or the Retro Rotation.
Bring it to us. We want it.
We want to hear from you. Please post in the Amigos podcast channel. Please limit 3 per user. We will see you guys next time. And until then, adios.